Hey, writers and muse daters. I'm so glad to see you again today. Thanks for being here. This is kind of a surprise Facebook Live. I hadn't really planned this one, but one of the topics that I've seen come up a lot in the last few days and even weeks here in the Write to Publish group is around feedback. And I've responded to this a whole lot and talked to many of you about feedback and how to find quality feedback. And I wanted to speak to that a little bit more today. So if you log in live, please say hello. Let me know where you are geographically. And if you're watching this afterwards, that is fine too. So let's talk about how to get quality feedback on your writing. So one of the things that's really important in quality feedback in your writing is the timing. So there are different types of feedback that you can get on your writing, and you want to make sure that you're getting the right kind of feedback at the right time. So the right kind of feedback at the right time. And how do you know what the right kind of feedback is? Well, neuroscientifically, there are methods of feedback that are most effective at varying points in the creative process. So one of the things that you may or may not know about me is that I studied learning in the brain. And so I have been in brain labs. I have studied the brain extensively from the point of view of how the brain learns and expands. And the same is true in the context of the writing process. And so the timing of the type of feedback that you get is exceedingly important. And I'm going to talk about that more about that in a moment. The other important aspect is the source, right? Who is giving you this feedback? And I've spoken to so many writers who joined a local writing group of some type, and they ended up at the least frustrated, and at the most they stopped writing. I've had many writers come to me who had loved writing at a certain time in their life, and they stopped writing because they had gotten some feedback that crushed them. And feedback should be constructive. It should help to move your writing forward, but it shouldn't be crushing. And if you felt that you've gotten feedback that was frustrating or crushing anywhere on that spectrum for you, it was one of two things. You got it at the wrong time, or you got it from the wrong source, or maybe both. It could be a combination of those things. So many times, and I don't know if this has happened to you, but it certainly happened to me when I was a younger writer and didn't quite know as much about the feedback process, you end up with readers in your group, people who are giving you feedback, who know very little about your genre, right? So there was a time in my life when I had someone start their feedback with, well, I've never read a book in this genre, but... And while it's true that someone who is a potential reader for our piece, in other words, it's been published and it's in a bookstore and they pick it up, you know, if you're someone who reads Westerns, it's highly unlikely that you're suddenly going to pick up a romance. Maybe you would. I mean, we read all kinds of things, but people tend to stick with their genres. So that person who says, I've never read anything in this genre, that's not your ideal reader even. Never mind someone who has the expertise from a technical standpoint to give you the right kind of feedback. So you want to target your ideal reader. So that person in the group who says, I've never read anything in this genre, that person probably isn't going to be able to give you any meaningful feedback. That person is the wrong source. And that happens frequently in these free groups that you end up in, right? You'll have a romance writer and a Western writer and a poet and all kinds of a mishmash, right? So Coriander is asking, how do you get your readers? Yes, that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. That's what we're here for. So excellent question. Thanks so much. So yeah, so people who are in the wrong genre, not the right people for you, right? And the other thing about a comment like I've never read anything in this genre is about a level of expertise, right? So there are people who can read your book as potential readers, and they can give you the kind of feedback that readers give you, right? And if you don't know what that looks like, hop onto Amazon and you'll see a whole bunch of it, right? 5-star book, I loved this book. 1-star book, I hated the main character, right? Those are the kind of things that readers have to say to you, right? They're gonna give you a book report. I liked your book, I didn't like your book, I liked your character, I hated your character. That's reader feedback. So if that's the kind of information you want, go find readers. Where do you find readers? The library. You know, local writing groups. Those are people who are going to give you a book report. So if you're at a point in your writing where you want a book report, those are the people. Now look, if you want quality, constructive feedback, and here's what this sounds like. Your plot arc is failing about 3/4 of the way into your rising action. Here are some things that you can do to improve that situation. Here's how else that might sound. Your character isn't believable. And your character isn't believable because what happens directly after the exposition isn't convincing. So we need to put some more content in that exposition so that when this event happens, it's much more believable. If that's the kind of feedback that you want, you need to find the person who knows how to give that feedback, who has the knowledge base to be able to say more than, I like your main character, I hate your main character. If you want the kind of feedback that's going to get your writing to grow, you need to be with people who understand how writing works. You need to be with people who get what quality writing is, what it should look like, and not just some pedantic knowledge of how story structure comes together, but then how to do it, how to fix it, how to get it to work. You need someone who's an expert, right? So if you're not happy with the feedback that you've been getting, it's because you've done it at the wrong time, and from a neuroscientific standpoint, it's too soon, it's too late. There are specific types of feedback that happen at specific times, or perhaps it's coming from the wrong source. Think about this. I've got a sore tooth. So I go around to all my friends and I say, hey guys, look at my tooth. What do you think's wrong with it? Do you think that I'm going to get a good solution? Probably not. Why? Because I need to go to a dentist. The dentist is the expert in knowing what's wrong with my tooth. My friends care about me, they love me, they mean well, they might have read a book on dentistry, but they're not dentists. I hope you're following my analogy. If you're frustrated with feedback, it's happening at the wrong time, it's coming from the wrong source. That's what's going on. So, nice comments. So I've got Tom. Hi, Tom. Nice to talk to you. Tom is saying that he gives his writing to other writers. Yeah, when it comes to feedback, right? So sometimes if you give it to fellow writers who we would hope know something about the writing process, we still, as Tom points out, might not be happy with the kind of feedback that we're getting. And that's part of the problem is some people get offended. Why did they get offended? They got the wrong feedback. They got feedback at the wrong time. That's why people get offended. They got feedback at the wrong time. That's the answer right there. Because the right kind of feedback at the right time does magic. It does magic. And I'm not making this up. I see it happen every single day in the writing gym, because the kind of feedback that we give in the writing gym is based on neuroscience. It's not some random writing group thing. It's based on neuroscience for when the right time is to get this type of feedback. It's very, very structured in that way. And then we're teaching the members of the writing gym how to give peer-to-peer feedback in a meaningful way. Thanks, Faith. Faith says, I'm spot on with timing for feedback. Yes, and I mean, it's not me. I didn't make this up. This is what I studied when I studied neuroscience around how to give feedback. This is science. This is real. So in the writing gym, you know, you've got a specialist. That's me giving feedback in a constructive way that moves writing forward super quickly, super efficiently, no hurt feelings, and very constructive. So if that's the kind of feedback that you want on your writing, you want feedback that improves your writing fast, that moves your writing forward efficiently and gets you into finger flying flow, let's chat. I put a link in the notes for the video. I'd love to talk to you about what you're working on and how we can get you some quality feedback. Thanks for watching today. Please post your questions and comments in the comment section. I think it's down there. And have a great day and happy writing.